What's going on, Assassins? It's Darkstrider, and I've been doing a little bit of research into this whole situation with shadows and what Japan could actually do. Now, one of the biggest things that they could do, they can actually make sure that the game itself is banned in the country. Now, that is something that does happen. There are tons of games that have been banned in multiple countries. The USA, usually we have censorship. We'll have a game that comes over from Japan. This is really big with like the Final Fantasy series, especially the older games, where maybe the character or the animation for one of the summons looked a little too provocative. They might put a little more clothing on or a little more mist, something that kind of hides the curves of like the female body, things like that they would do. Other things are like translations. If there's like a translation and it means something really bad in English, they might change the whole dialogue where it still kind of makes sense, but it's different from what they said. And in some cases it doesn't make sense. Sometimes you're like, why would they even say that? It's really weird. So little things like that they do. One of the other things that they do, like I said, they would ban, and that might be the result ending up over there in Japan as far as Assassin's Creed Shadows goes. Now, even Germany, I don't know what it's like today, but I know in the 80s and early 90s, I think, Germany was not allowed, you weren't allowed to have games that had any sort of like Nazi imagery or anything like that. And I mean, that's understandable, but at the same time, you would think it's just imagery, like why would it be banned? They wanted nothing to do with it, like well after World War II. So that's why. So games like Wolfenstein weren't allowed over in Germany at all. I remember way back in the day, my cousin had a friend who was a foreign exchange student that lived in his house and was going to school with us and whatnot. And this guy, I'll never forget him, his name was York. And he used to tell us that they can't play those games. They can't play Bionic Commando. They couldn't play Wolfenstein. Wolfenstein especially, that was like a really big thing back then. The original Wolfenstein played like Doom, and like you actually did fight a bunch of Nazis. They even spoke German. They had like uniforms that maybe didn't look like Nazis. They were similar, but they weren't the same colors. But that's how the game was intended. The game was intended to be like an anti-Nazi thing, like you were running around killing Nazis, and like at one of the DLCs, the extras, you actually fight Adolf Hitler. So and he's in like a big metal suit, like a mecha Hitler. So it was things like that. We did, again, censorship. We did change a couple of things. When we got Bionic Commando for the original NES system, you actually were fighting the Nazis. They changed it to you were fighting the Bads, the BADDS. And they, at the end, they revive Hitler. And instead of calling him Hitler, he's the Supreme Commander or something that they name him. So there is some censorship in some games. And in some countries, they do ban a lot of games. China bans a lot of games, that are violent, that go against Chinese culture. If you scribble something, if you're able to scribble something in the game, like Animal Crossing, you could send notes back and forth. Animal Crossing for the Nintendo Switch, the one that recently came out, you can't play it in China. It's banned. And the reason it's banned is because you could send messages to and from, and they could be anti-government messages. So it's banned. There are a lot of other games that are banned. And I'm not saying, I'm not trying to give you these examples so that you look at other countries and say, wow, it's really shitty over there. No, that's not the point of it. The point is that all these countries, they ban for different reasons, or they censor for different reasons. You know, like in the United States, like I said, they censored certain things. Somebody in another country might be like, well, that's stupid. Why would they censor that? You know, it's all about what the government believes is in the best interest of the people, and what they believe is harmful to the people. That's why in the United States we did have congressional hearings at the time of Mortal Kombat. You know, when it was coming to consoles, they had hearings to try to ban it. The same thing with Night Trap. The same thing with, what was it? Grand Theft Auto 3. That was another one that they tried to ban. So little things like that, it's to protect the quote-unquote children, but why are you letting your kids play this? You're not paying attention to what they just want something and you go out and you get it immediately. That's kind of silly, you know? But regardless, most likely what they would do is ban the game over in Japan. They may ban Assassin's Creed Shadows from sale over there. Now, since 1945, they haven't shut down any businesses and sent them packing. Like, you know, I was thinking that they possibly could do is get rid of UbiSoft Japan and toss them. But again, since, you know, 1945, they haven't done anything like that, and it's highly unlikely that they would do that. It's a possibility, but again, it's unlikely. But banning the game, more than likely they'll probably do that, because it is not in the best interest of their people with all the things that are going on. Now, is that the worst that can happen? I don't know. I don't know what other kind of powers they could have, but they could actually ban the game. Now, what does that mean for Ubisoft going forward? That is also another great question, because we don't know how bad that'll hit them in their pockets. I literally tried looking up what the numbers were in Japan for Assassin's Creed Valhalla, and it won't give me like a breakdown like that. All I know is that Valhalla sold 20 million plus copies, and their revenue was over 1 billion. Now, that being said, about 2 months ago, just in pre-orders alone, it was number 1 in Japan, number 1 in the UK, number 1 in Germany, number 2 in France, and number 6 in the US. That's Assassin's Creed Shadows. Now, number 1 in Japan, so they all pre-ordered it. Like, what changed? What happened? Did more information come out? I'm trying to see what's going on as far as current numbers, if it's still number 1. How many people have canceled their subscriptions? See, these are the numbers that I'm interested in. I want to see things like that, because I want to see exactly who is really upset about this. Like I said, 80,000 plus signatures might not be enough to move the needle, or it definitely isn't enough to move the needle, but it doesn't seem like it's that many people that are opposed to it, as opposed to people who actually want to play or purchase the game. So, you know, what's going on? Do we have people that feel like it's just a game, and other people that are like, well, it's actually rewriting and is revisionist history? I don't know. I couldn't tell you. I know for a fact that there are a bunch of things that are bothering the Japanese about this game, and I know that, you know, some of this stuff is very, very serious, especially when you have religious iconography and, you know, buildings and stuff like that, and religious customs, religious practices that you get wrong and you just don't care. It really would not take you any time to go back and fix those items, or even the writing, because you have characters that are not even Japanese as far as their language, you have a foreign language in there and you're presenting it as their language. That's kind of silly as well. So I don't know. I don't know what percentage is doing what. I'm trying to like dive into that because I do see a lot of reason for people to be angry, and I do see some scenarios where I really agree with them. I really do. And I'm not really shocked at Ubisoft, but I mean, it is kind of silly that they're not going to show any sort of remorse or support for the Japanese people. You know, be a little apologetic and try to at least address their concerns. You know, do something like that. I don't know. But like I said, they could actually ban the game in Japan. And if it's that big of a deal, they may ban it in other regions as well. It all depends. So, again, I turn it over to you guys. What do you guys think? Do you think that if Japan is so, hell-bent on having this stopped, that they should just ban it in Japan? Should they do more? Should Ubisoft be held accountable even further? Because if they did this with Japan, they could do this with anybody. They could actually mess anything up, present it as fact, and just tell the world, eat it. That's it. What are your thoughts on this? Anyway, that's all I have for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Please make sure you like and subscribe. It helps this channel out an awful lot. As always, I want to thank each and every one of you for watching. And until next time, take care, be good, stay safe, take care of each other. I'll see you all in the next one.
Ya Yi!